speak about the other things on the list here for the buildings and grounds, the kitchen?
Sure, yeah, I'm sorry, I can address that too. Some other things that were on that we talked about at that meeting. You mentioned the kitchen, so we've had some problems with our sewage drains in the kitchen at the high school. They plug up about every month or so, and we have to call in a plumber to snake those out. And with Hooper here doing our referendum project, they put a camera down that line that had the ability to go much deeper into the line than what our local plumber can do. And what they came back to us with was that those lines are in really tough shape and they need some attention. And so given that over the summer, the high school cafeteria is already going to be saw cut with new main sewer lines running through that space, they recommended that as long as they were doing that work already and as long as we were going to be putting in brand new flooring in that space this summer, that we ought to cut laterals to the kitchen to at least lay the groundwork for the replacement of those lines. And the committee indicated that we ought to just tackle the problem. And so we're going to address all of the sewage lines in the kitchen this summer. I'm sorry, do you have that in front of you?
Wall leak, kitchen wall leak too.
So the kitchen wall leak, yeah, I reported on that also. You might recall that last fall we had that epoxy injected and it worked. We didn't have any leaking all fall, but when the heavy spring thaw came this year and the heavy rains came, we were back to having water running into that space.
It didn't come out of that space that was
It
injected.
just kind of moved over and ran through the ceiling. So with the help of our referendum construction managers in Findorf, they arranged to have that area dug up with a small backhoe. They exposed that wall, and what they found was that the decking on the top of the kitchen, that would basically be the floor to the auditorium, was this sort of corrugated material that when it was installed was not capped off correctly. It basically it's extended over the foundation of the walls, and over time that had deteriorated to the point where the water, when it became saturated, would just work its way in. So they've attempted to help us solve this. They prepped and cleaned that wall, applied an adhesive, and then put a rubber sealant over that wall, kind of the length of that wall, and are pretty confident that that's going to take care of the issue. They did suggest that at some point down the road we might want to look at doing that all the way around the auditorium, as it's probably exactly the same on the other side, but we just haven't had the leaks on the other side at this point. But at some point we may.
Is that a liquid urethane they put on?
So I saw it was a roll.
Oh, it's a roll.
Yep.
It's like water and ice shield. I was talking to the guy who installed it. He said it's similar to what you put on your roof, but a thicker product.
I don't know why they would roll a urethane on there. It's like the best thing to do.
Yeah, I've seen it. I know what you're talking
Well,
about.
use it all over the place. Use it in waterways and solid.
The good news is it totally, like, right now we have access to go back in there if there is any leaking. We can get back in there, and on top of it, there's more that we may need to do. So this was the first shot at taking care of the issue without knocking out all the concrete. There's newer concrete that's been installed there too. So we'll bring it up. I know the product you're talking about, but very thankful that they went and did the work without having to pick up the phone and find another contractor to come and do it, because Findorf just went, and they are the ones who did the work for us, which was great. So
I just worry about if you've got a lamp and it glues on, you've always got an area where water can come in. When you put a liquid on,
it's
it's
just
sealed. Yeah, it's not, you don't create that possible leak, so.
okay.
Were there other items that I'm not remembering?
That's it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Joel, and express to our coaches the congratulations
I will pass that along.
on their success.
Come on out on Thursday and cheer on the
Yeah.
girls if you can.
Yes.
It's regional games that start at 5.
It's a 5 o'clock start, yeah.
Yes, you can continue with your administrative
They
report.
work. All right, one of the things that we talked about in that meeting was actually the safety grant. And the state of Wisconsin has budgeted, there's $100 million is available for schools and for safety initiatives in the school, in the state of Wisconsin for all of our public schools. And then in the meantime, it became very specific now, and it's $20,000 per building, and it's not like the district offices in college, it has to be a school building. So we would have at most $60,000 budgeted for the school district to support their very specific, also safety initiatives that it will cover. They tell you right out in advance what would be covered and what wouldn't. And they're kind of almost, I don't want to say approved vendors, but recommended vendors and recommended products. So we had to create a account with the Department of Justice to complete this application. It's due on the 8th, and it needed letters of support from the county and the police department. So we have those letters of support. We're just waiting for some final quotes. On here, there's just the topics: shatterproof safety film for entrance doors. There's 2 levels of funding, primary and secondary for this. Primary funding actually covers like that set of door, that door with the glass around it, that would be considered primary. But the whole entrance here, if you wanted to do that, that would be considered secondary. The funds for that would come out of our pot. Anything that's primary, you don't see a dollar amount here for, because that would be covered outside of our $60,000. So we are getting quotes for the ones that are considered primary. And we are even looking to see too, what would it be for some of the more secondary levels. But through this adventure, we learned that most of the glass over at Mayville Middle School is all shatterproof. It already has that grid in it. You just don't notice it when you're coming up to the building. So we're getting quotes for the shatterproof safety film from approved vendors. We have 40 cell phones that our police chief brought this program to our attention. It costs minimal $380 a year to have these 40 cell phones in the schools, where they're guaranteed to work in the event of emergency. And other times, like landlines don't work, cell phones get all locked up because everybody's making calls and everything falls apart. It's a 99.5% guarantee. They weren't willing to put the 0.5 on there, but it's a special program through US Cellular. And so the phones are just old school phones. Somebody in this room may have one, will be using one of them right now. The phone will be stored in like groups of, like there's 4 classrooms, there'll be a phone. For another 4 classrooms, there'll be a phone. So they're spread throughout the 3 buildings, just to be strategic. So like at the middle school, we've got the pods with the center room. So the phone will be stored in an area where teachers have access to in the event of emergency. They'll have one phone for that pod, is the deal. So we're including those as far as emergency communications. Then there's information here, Stop the Bleed. And what's been in all of the shootings, unfortunately, they've realized that it's not necessarily CPR training that's required. It's the ability to address, to take care of a wound. And so we have built into here Stop the Bleed kits that are individual kits, as well as more of a large trauma bag. I think the trauma bags can take have up to 10 of them. So those would be strategically placed throughout the school district, and our staff will receive Stop the Bleed training donated to the school district by the city, by the EMS. So we already have it scheduled to do this. So then we purchased a visitor screening system. It's a visitor management system and a screener. So if you're not associated with the school district, and you come up to the building, they're going to need to bring their ID, and then they give it to the receptionist. It gets scanned, and then it says, "Yep, you're good." And then on top of it, it actually prints out their badge right then and there to say that they're good. It's got their picture on it. It says, "I've been approved." So, and we do background checks now. This will be a software just to help make it all smooth. The other part is, that's the screening system. I'm gonna correct this. there's a visitor management system, and then there's a volunteer management component too. So if you want to volunteer in Mayville School District, you need to go into the software, enter your information, it'll kick it out and say you're approved. So when you come in and say, hey, I want to supervise this field trip, we'll look and say, yep, you've been cleared. So that's something we don't have right now, and so what's great about it is it's a universal system for how all three buildings will operate. So as far as that the volunteer screening goes, it's not every year. It would be once at Parkview, twice at the middle school, and once at the high school is what Raptor had recommended that we do. We can always do background checks, by the way. This is more of a universal system piece. So that has been purchased, and the training for that is going to get coordinated this summer with our district, with the, not our district, with the office staff to be a part of it. The biggest expense that we are getting quotes now for is the PA system at Parkview. It's old, it wasn't included in the scope for the referendum, and this is totally appropriate for the Center grant to come. So we budgeted about $20,000 for that. Then the last item on there well, there's two more items, but one more as far as the equipment goes, it's called a bidirectional amplifier. And really it's actually, it's in the high school, but it's for our police department, because when they're in our building right now, their communications don't work. So this is a kind of a community application, so that for sure would be supported by this grant as well. So the other part that I want to mention is we have to have required training in order to get the dollars. There's some other pieces that we have to be committed to as well. One of those commitments, and I think we might have talked about here, is that if there's a door program to be open, we are now, to get this, we will have to be committed to having somebody supervise that too. So while back in the day, I would say, hey, before school, have that building wide open. Just let people come, have all the doors open. That's not where we're headed in society. We're not like that now. But if there's a door program to be open, we are required to have a supervisor there. So that's the state of Wisconsin required. So we have scheduled for next fall, Run, Hide, Fight, and our school emergency operations plan training that goes along with that for all the teachers. And then trauma-informed care training. That is actually a requirement by the grant. If you're going to receive the grant, we also have to implement it. It's called trauma-informed care, which our staff are definitely interested in. They want, like the pupil services team, the people behind me, we definitely want to see that training for the staff. So as a requirement, hey, that sounds great. No big deal. So all of these pieces, as far as the training we are planning for next fall, we're very much in support of it. So just wanted you to keep in the loop on that. There are some districts that are having actual formal approval of the application. It's not required. So I just wanted you to be aware that this is what's getting submitted on that. One more handout. A team met from the board last week, Thursday, to review the innovation grant applications. And the decision was made to award the applications to the two following groups. One is to an application by Mrs. Schlinder and Mrs. Schneider. They are our STEM teacher and our 7th grade math teacher. They will be purchased a class set of 12 Spiro Spark robots with a power pack and traveling unit, as well as the 12 iPad minis to help operate those robots. So robotics engineering is a big part of the future for our kids, so it's great to see the STEM initiative being supported by the mini grant. And then the remaining dollars, the committee decided the best choice for those was to go towards ADA accessible playground equipment for the middle school. Other than that, I do want to share with you, I met with representatives of the library, from the library, and they're 100% interested in the property. And I've been told that that is our property is their #1 location. So now they're following up with the city, and we expect to hear something back from them. I did give them, they asked for something in writing from me about the Board of Education's intentions, and I just communicated what we did here in open session. The only other thing that I want to share today is that on June 18th through the 20th, the leadership team as well as representatives from the staff are attending a 3-day workshop in the Dells, and the 18th will all still be in Wisconsin Dells. So I talked to John, if we could change the meeting date to the 20th. The conference is that day, but we could definitely make it back for a meeting, so it's a Wednesday night, June 20th, if that flies for everybody, we'll move the meeting for that day.
No. June 20th. I'll just be going down south and picking up a vehicle. I don't know, I'd have to figure it out. So, the 20th. Okay, maybe I can go after that.
Okay.
Well,
Is that okay with everybody else?
I got to look at it, sounds fine.
okay. Do you want to have a backup plan just in case? The next night, Thursday? Sure, getting late.
So what are the hours, what's the exact time? And
We would do 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. It's our regular board meeting is supposed to be on the 18th. and
Okay.
The group is gonna be gone, so
Okay.
it's either Wednesday
Yeah,
or
it's
Thursday.
well,
Well,
these guys, including myself, will all be at a workshop,
okay.
so out of the area. So we're just hoping to do a different day. And with us, because we meet twice a month, if you start to move it around
Yeah.
later, you're so close to the next one.
I'll just try to stay. I'll just try to stay.
Okay.
Somebody's taking me down, so that's the problem. It's not me. Somebody's driving me down there, so I'm
Okay.
gonna yeah.
So you,
Yeah.
the 20th it is?
Well,
Or the
unless we hear
21st? Okay,
that it's
I
a
think,
conflict. Conflict.
I'll let you know tomorrow.
okay, so it's good.
I'll let you know.
Great. All right, thank you.
All right, Becky, what do you have? Anything?
Just a few things, and I don't have any pictures tonight, which is too bad, because there were a lot of good pictures would have been captured here, but we had our marsh trip back on the 23rd, and just a shout out, our marsh trip every year is funded by the Williamstown grant that we get. So the town of Williamstown provides that $1,000 to each of our schools every school year, and Parkview for years now has allocated that money to help fund our Parkview trip. So it takes care of the transportation, the snacks we provide the kids, etc. So that's just a fun day for the kids that does not cost them anything. And one of my favorite things I heard from a parent who's had kids at Parkview for several years, but it's the first time she came and chaperoned. She looked at me and went, "You guys really do learn a lot here. It's not just about having fun. There's a lot of learning going on while you're at the marsh." So marsh trip was a success, but again, thanks to that grant, because that grant really does help us. On the 25th of May, Parkview participated in a ceremonial wall smashing. As many of you may know already and may have seen some pictures, we have knocked walls down in what used to be the old Parkview office and had been the reading suite for the last 4 years to make it now our new makerspace and art room. So holes have been knocked in the walls, so we allowed the kids to have a chance to be part of that. So they brought in cardboard bricks and built a wall. They brought in small hard hats, the fluorescent vests, and these foam hammers, and they gave the kids the opportunity to do some wall smashing themselves. So they built the walls and let them knock them down. And then every learner walked away with a hat.
Yep.
One of these little hard hats that they got to walk away with as well that day. So that work is coming along. Actually, the plumbers were in today to get the piping set and structured for the new sinks that will be in that space. So things are moving along very nicely. According to Jeff Alexander, that space will be done itself probably by the end of June. And then the rest of the work over the summer at Parkview will be changing the piping and the wire and all the HVAC work to get all of the new furnaces in place for the air conditioning equipment. We will be at Parkview welcoming the high school staff to our office space at the end of this week. With the construction happening at the high school, Parkview is coming to join us, high school is coming to join us at Parkview for the summer. So we are making space for them and looking forward to them joining us for the summertime. I don't know how they feel about it, but I'm excited to have company. It's pretty lonely at Parkview in the summertime otherwise, so it's going to be good. That being said, Parkview is going to become even more of an island because there's not just construction at the high school, but there's also construction in the city. And as of about noon on Friday, like Thursday, seriously, I think as soon as the kids and the parents are leaving at noon, they are shutting down the Oak Street intersection, the Walnut Street intersection, and the John Street intersection. So now you really can't get to Parkview in any sort of easy manner. It's going to be going around down Main Street to Rudebush. Rudebush will be the way to go. The one thing they're going to do to help the folks who live on Oak Street is that our Brickyard Lane that leads right from Oak Street and out of Parkview, they are going to turn that as of Thursday afternoon into a two-way street so that the residents on Oak Street have a way to get into their homes. And then we will have access to families, and people visiting Parkview will have access. So Parkview becomes a construction island as of Friday. I think the only other thing I have is in helping transition our second graders. Our second graders did take a walk over to the middle school today to get a chance to visit with the third grade teachers, kind of get an idea of a little bit of what third grade is going to be like, and I believe they actually walked the building and did a little tour as well. So that's kind of our wrap up. We've got bowling. All the kids are going bowling tomorrow as part of our last Cardinal Way celebration. So Dan's Kingpin has all 8 lanes ready for us tomorrow morning to start showing up for 45 minutes of bowling. And parents can come on Thursday afternoon to have lunch with their kids starting at about 11 o'clock, and we're done at noon. So that wraps up the 2017-18 school year.
Thank you, Becky.
Yep.
John?
So we too are in preparation for shutdown mode with lots of class and grade level activities. Something that's been kind of neat for me is the number of teachers and staff who have stepped up to promote what's going on in their classroom and share it with others. So Melissa Schneider and Jessica Stortz have planned Thursday morning a chance for all their classes to share what they've been doing in with their STEAM projects, and set up a rotation for the other classes to visit and what's going on in the STEAM, the STEM and art world. Also, a group of teachers got together and brought back the traditional movie day afternoon with a rotation, kids being able to pick their movies for Wednesday. Of course, tomorrow, just a reminder, is our 8th grade recognition program that starts at 5:30 in the middle school auditorium. You will have reserved seating down in front, so don't feel like you have to beat the rush and get there too early, as some of our parents do. Just a note before you get there, if you've been there in the past, we are switching things up a little bit as far as how we do it, so you won't be expected to get up and shake hands with every learner. It'll be more, and we're actually going to bring the learners in from the side, like the way the high school did it, so we made that change today. We had a little rehearsal, and we'll rehearse with the kids tomorrow, but we'll bring them up the side steps and from kind of backstage as they walk across the stage and highlight them a little more. So, but we hope to see you there at 5:30 with a short reception after. The other big event tomorrow is Field Day. That also is organized, a day of games and fun outside with the older kids and student council members running that for the different classes. And then we were excited to find out that over the weekend, all 3 of our choirs went down to Illinois and participated in Music in the Parks, which was a middle school music competition, and then they got to go to Great America for the rest of the day. All 3 of our choirs brought home superior ratings. Our 7th and 8th grade choir was the grand champion of the entire event, and Leah Seiler, one of our 8th graders, was awarded the best vocal soloist. So today those choirs got together and put on a performance for our 3rd and 4th graders as well to continue to promote and grow the program. So we're pretty proud of them to come back. We've got in our office a big row of trophies sitting in front, so that was pretty cool. 5 big trophies sitting there today, so that was great. Thank you.
Very nice, John. Bob?
Good evening. Final exams at the high school will be June 6th and 7th, Wednesday and Thursday.
This will be our last day with kids. We're gonna have periods 1, 2, 3, 4 on Wednesday, periods 5, 6, 7, 8 in the morning on Thursday. And then in the afternoon will be makeup exams, correcting exams, and getting grades.